Hey everyone, it's RichardMetalFan here, bringing you guys a little video. Before we get into this video, this is going to be a completely new video. This is something different. This is something I have never done before, well, ever. I'm going to be doing an interview. Yeah, this is going to be my very first interview for the first time ever. Something new to the channel, something different. And today I'm going to be doing an interview with my good friend Samantha Landa, who you probably know. She plays drums for Dead Asylum. She also was in Nervosa for a bit, and she's also now the new drummer for Conquer Divide. And today we're going to be speaking to her for a little bit, talking to her about like her influences, talking about like how, drumming wise, and her style, and like playing with different bands. So I hope you all enjoy this video, and thank you guys for watching. Okay, so hey everybody. So I'm here with my good friend Samantha Landa of Conquer Divide and Dead Asylum. How are you doing today, Sam?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. So you're the new member of Conquer Divide. My first question I want to ask is, how did you get involved in the band?
Yeah, so it's, well, long story short, before the band formed, I was actually potentially going to work with them, and but at the time, it just didn't work out for a variety of reasons.
Yeah,
I mean, I just didn't really have my focus on drumming so much at the time. I was working, and technologically, uh, just incompetent. So I was trying to like send over drum ideas and like send videos and stuff, and like I don't know. Anyway, at the time, it's like, they couldn't just wait around for me to kind of figure stuff out. So
right.
so it didn't work out at that time. But then more recently, when they said, hey, we're gonna get started again, uh, and we don't have a drummer at the moment, so if you're interested in coming out and doing this stuff with us, that's basically how it went. I stayed in touch with Kristen over the years, and
Right.
I followed how, as the band progressed and things like that. So when Kristen reached out to me again, that was really cool. So I was like, yeah, definitely, because I've always loved the song ideas, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So like Seeing as Chemicals was like your first single with the band. Did you listen to their self-titled debut album and think this is how I have to play, or did like the rest of the band wanted to bring like your own mix to the band?
I think that the main thing is the first album. I mean, Tamara's parts are awesome. They're really, really well thought out and like quite technical. Um, and I think that that's something that people really liked about the self-titled. I think for Chemicals and for any other music that's coming out in the near future, it's it's easy to just kind of compare and be like, okay, well, I'm going to have to do that if I want to kind of keep the sound, or if I want to like if I want people to think, okay, how is this going to measure up when you're another, you're a new member coming into a band.
Definitely.
I think it's more what's best for the song, and does the song need the technical, this technical part, or does it need that, or does it need something that's a little bit more straightforward? So it's definitely not so much about like how do we make sure that the drums sound like they did on the previous album. I think it's more like what drums make sense for the song. And Chemicals, for example, it's a little bit more um, I don't know, a little bit more straightforward in the drumming for sure, and it's a little bit
Right.
more maybe commercial sounding. And I think that that's just what goes with the song and what goes with the riffs. And I think that anything more than that would probably just be, too much.
Right. Right. Now, being a drummer, what I'm curious is about is, do you usually lay down like the rhythm and the beat, and then the rest of the band sort of like writes melodies and riffs over that, or do you need to like hear music like, before you like lay down the drums?
As a drummer, I prefer that. Like, I like hearing the riffs first and hearing the melodies first, and coming up with drums that accentuate that and that support that. I know that there's definitely, like, I've definitely worked with some musicians where they want me to come up with like a drum beat or pattern or something first, and that's totally fine. It's just not something I'm used to doing as much. Usually what I'll do is it's like someone sends me a riff, or maybe it's even a completed song and says that this song needs drums or whatever it is, and then I'll put it to that. Because I think that whether it starts with drums or whether it ends with drums, I think it's just important that the drums and guitar parts, the rhythms, are complementing each other. And I love when drummers have like cymbal parts or little details that match like a vocal line or like a lead guitar or part. I love when that happens, because you don't really expect it so much. You kind of expect like, maybe rhythm guitar and drums are going to be pretty in sync, and bass, but I love adding like little details.
All right. Now, obviously you played in like a bunch of different bands. You also in Dead Asylum, and you've also played with like Nervosa. Is there also like a different mind frame when it comes, or like a method when it comes to like playing with like different bands, or just depending on who you play with?
Like in terms of how I play, or
Yeah, sort of like different like a mind frame, like a mindset, like I have to play like this to like fit this style, or
I definitely do. I don't know if all drummers do this, but I definitely do take on a different bit of a mindset, or like maybe even my stage presence changes depending on who I'm playing with. Like when I was touring with Nervosa, it was like, okay, I'm playing with a thrash band, and like everyone's just, it's all fun, and upbeat and heavy and like a lot of energy. So like I can even see it in the pictures that were taken during those tours that I did with them, where it's like I look a lot more, I don't know, evil, or like a little bit more like, more have my tongue sticking out in more photos. Like, I don't know. And I wasn't doing it consciously. It wasn't like, oh, I have to be a certain way or look a certain way or do this thing or whatever. I think it was just, I got into this mindset of like, this is energetic, and this is so like, I don't know, fun and like loud and just a lot of, boocha, 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 and just very much like, yeah, metal kind of energy. So I think that probably came out in my playing. It definitely came out in the photos, because I look back and I'm like, wow, I'm like sticking my tongue out in every photo. I'm like, whereas maybe I didn't do that so much with like Dead Asylum, I guess. So, I mean, and same with like, I did a tour with Introtil from Mexico, and they're death metal, and they're a little bit more, I don't know, serious, and it's just a lot of blasting, and I can't have as much of a stage presence personally if I'm just blasting like half the time, because I need to have all the energy for like, to keep your body going. So I think I probably wasn't quite as like energetic or as like big in terms of my playing when I was playing with them.
all right. Like I noticed like your drumming is also so very versatile. You like playing like more of like aggressive fast stuff versus like with the Asylum, and of course playing like mid-paced stuff or slower stuff kind of similar to like with Conquer Divide. It almost feels like a different, do you feel like an almost different like energy or just different vibes depending on like the song that you're playing with, tempo wise, whether it be fast or slow?
Yeah, sure. Like if it's a slower tune, it's probably going to be a little bit more dynamic. So I'm probably going to put more, I'm probably going to focus more on the dynamics and like ghost notes and like just, I don't know, more of like the touch of the drums and like the sounds that you get from it, versus like kind of just going all in or going hard or playing fast or whatever. It's more about like, I don't know, the feel, I guess, which you can totally bring into metal and in similar heavy genres. It's just like, yeah, I mean, again, I don't think it's really something I'm conscious of that I'm doing personally. I think it just kind of happens. It's kind of like, what's the vibe of this? What's the feeling of this particular song? And it kind of comes out in the playing.
Awesome. Some like think one more question I want to ask you, and this is a pretty cool, one of the hardest questions to answer. Be ready for it.
Okay.
Hey, how do you know when a song is done?
A song is never done. I mean, you can just, it is a good question. I mean, you can work on a song forever, literally forever, and never be 100% happy with it. Or you can hear a song that you recorded 6 months ago and be like, oh, I would have done all these things differently, because it's just like, you're always growing as a musician and your ear is always developing and things like that. So it's like, and maybe your songwriting skills are developing. So when's a song done? I think that it's just, I think when everyone is at least happy with, I'd say when everyone's happy with the structure, that's like number one. It's like, okay, it feels good. I think that's number one. Does it feel good to play?
Right.
And then, so once that's there, and then you're adding layers, and then it's like, again, you can add a million layers and effects and whatever else you want, until the end of time. But I think it's just a matter of what are all the elements that you want in the song? Does it have those? You know, checking off the boxes, I guess. And then, yeah, does it feel good to listen to it? Does it feel good to play it? And then at that point, at some point, you do have to call it and just say, you know, the song is done. We're going to play it like this, or we're going to record it. Good to get other opinions sometimes, especially before you go into studio. It's like, get the producer's opinion. If you have friends that, you know, you trust, it's like sometimes you think a song is done, and then somebody else says, well, what about this? And you think, okay, well, I hadn't thought of it that way before. So sometimes it's good to kind of get a third-party opinion. But I don't know. I don't think there's really one right answer. For me, it's does it feel good to play it, and does it sound good to listen to, and does it have all the components in it that I personally would want in that song? And then I would consider it done, at least for the time being.
Awesome. So before we go, I wanted to thank you for taking the time for this interview. Is there anything else you would just like to promote in terms of like new music for Conquer Divide or Dead Asylum?
Yeah, I mean, well, for Conquer Divide, you know, just stay tuned. You know, the band's not going into hiding again. And by hiding, I don't mean literal hiding, obviously. Just, yeah, the band is active again. So just expect more content
Awesome.
online. And I mean, Dead Asylum's just, you know, kind of chipping away at some new music, but I don't really have anything, you know, new and fancy to announce in that area. But yeah, just thank you so much for the support, and you know, it's a tough time right now to be a musician, for sure. So
thanks to a certain virus that we shall not name.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, you know, doing whatever we can to, you know, make music and put out content that people care about, and support each other in the process. And hopefully sooner than later, we can be touring again and back to live shows. And that's what I'm hoping for.
Awesome. So here we are, everybody. My interview with Sam Landa. Thank you guys for watching. Take care.
Thanks so much for having me.
Great.